How are you?
I'm great.
Listen,
First of all, let me just tell you, my palms are sweating. This technology, we try to be grips and lighting people and wardrobe. I'm like, it's Angela. I can't let her down today.
no, you couldn't. Yeah, there's very little. You,
My technical director.
Josh, I love you.
Uh,
Um,
Hi. Hey, sister.
there's absolutely nothing you could do to let me down. So there's that.
Oh,
You look so handsome.
oh, listen, Scotch tape and super glue and good light.
Latanya's here. Latanya said hello,
Oh,
and she loves us. Yvette is here. Destin is here. Great people are in the house, along with those who don't know you, and they will get to know you in this few minutes. So I'm excited for them.
thank you for having me. I'm really honored.
Yeah, how have you been?
Listen, good days, tough days, odd days. My hope is alive. My community, family, we're strong. But, we're weathering a storm that I think we're all in our personal lifeboat. And I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we get to shore and get everyone else to the other side. And I'm certain that we will. But it's a
Mhm.
new reality for all of us.
Yeah, it is. I know what I know about you, and looking behind you at my house. I'm a little jealous because I love being there. But what I know about you is you like being busy. Like you go 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 more than anybody I've ever seen. So how has this moment of pause been for you, or have you found a way? Because I tell people all the time, I don't know how I'm busier in the house than I have ever been. But have you found a way to stay busy?
Oh, you know what? It's funny. I have that reputation of being busy. What I think my reputation comes from, I'm always grateful that somebody calls and asks. So I'm that man that says yes. So I've always just loved the opportunities that I've been blessed with. This is the first time since I left home, and went to college that I've had to sit still. And to be quite honest with you, I have loved every minute. It's allowed me to get closer to my family. It's allowed me more time to connect spiritually. On so many levels, it's just given me a time to reflect on this incredible journey that I've been blessed to be on, and
Mhm.
also understand what the next chapter is going to be. So, no, I mean, to be home. The challenging part is my family mama is in Denver. So that has created a new dynamic because, I was on a flight every week. And now all of a sudden I've only been on one plane and it was only to return from seeing her. And we're in a hot spot. So that just makes getting home more of a challenge. But I'm just grateful that we're safe and healthy, and yeah, I'm hanging in there.
I'm so glad. I mean, some things that happened, right? With work, you were on this huge tour. You were all over the place with Cirque and Volta, and you, the artistic director, living your best life on the red carpets and things. And then that shut down as well. So, what's the status of all that now?
Yeah, that's big. Cirque du Soleil is a global brand, and we, have over 30 properties, shows all over the world. So when
Yeah.
the pandemic started to roll, of course, we were keeping our eyes on it. It was the first time that I was actually home in LA. We were playing here in Dodger Stadium. So that
Okay.
was a blessing because I got to be in my hometown as far as where I live now. I was traveling. I probably did 3 international flights just from January to March, also doing Pro Bowl and then running this $80 million show here in Los
Mhm.
Angeles. And we knew something in our spirit back in Atlanta because we had such an incredible run there, as you know. People just
Mhm.
started getting this weird pneumonia, this weird flu. And then by the time we got to LA, I started to notice that more of these young, incredible artists were getting sick. And so that was bizarre because now we're managing our employees and
Hmm.
also around 2,000 people a day, basically 6 days a week. So it was right at our doorstep.
Yeah.
Then we shut down. And we thought it was
Hmm.
just going to be a 3 month pause and give everybody time to get home safely. Then we had to get them back and get them reconditioned. Well, that
Yeah.
back never happened. And then the discovery that the company was in financial straits, it became way more critical than any of us had known about or knew that could happen to a global brand.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the company is in bankruptcy. I'm proud to say that the company has found new buyers that has not been announced as far as who they are. But the good news
Yeah.
is Cirque will come back. It's just how we do it and at what speed. But the collateral impact of this pandemic from the artist side has been far more detrimental than I think any of us could have imagined because whereas artists, we train every day. If you're a great singer, you're taking voice classes, dancer. We have these one of a kind artists, who knows how to spin by their hair, right? And
Right.
there's now no gyms open. No, so they can't even go train. So to see their resilience, to be making makeshift equipment and trying to keep their craft going. And for many of them, it's like being an Olympic athlete. And this window is short.
Yeah.
So I've done my best to stay in touch with some of the artists and trying to keep morale high, but we're in just a new time. So I'm praying that we get the company comes back. It will be a
Hmm.
slow rollout, because we'll have to follow all the guidelines.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be country by country and city by city. And but what I do love about the Cirque culture is there really is it's a community. It's like our Broadway community. We're family.
Hmm.
And nothing for me will replace that community. Broadway, I'm here because of the incredible community that I was blessed to be adopted into many, many years ago.
Hmm. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So, how do you feel when you see that Broadway is shut down too? Does it feel like a
Oh,
void?
it is, it's challenging to see those marquees, those lights off. Times Square is the heartbeat. Even if you're not on Broadway, just to go back to see your friends in the show, it gets you, it re-inspires you, gets you going again, and it helps you dream again.
Yeah.
So right now, it's difficult because now I think we really have to have the conversation. I don't think many people know that the arts and culture side of us, we're the number two drivers of the GDP.
Yes, we
So
are.
now you've taken this big piece out, and no one's talking about it. So when we had the CARE Act that went through Congress and the Senate, yeah, we were left out.
Hmm.
But we're such an essential part. We are frontline workers in a very different way. And so I really want us to start having the
Yeah.
conversation about making sure our politicians, that our state representatives, that they really understand the need to protect us and
Hmm.
help us find the path forward because we just can't leave it to our own devices. Now, we'll make theater anywhere. Like I can do a good show in my backyard,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
have to figure this out. And I want our political leaders, our community leaders, to get engaged because we need to talk about it. I mean, we are the second largest driving part of the economy, and that has to be
Yeah.
discussed. And we need the
Yeah.
Dawn Act to pass the Senate. We need to make sure that these incredible people who have invested their lives to take a path so difficult,
Hmm.
to be brave enough to go,
Yeah.
I'm going to go that way and dream big enough, even if the odds are against me.
Yeah.
When it does work out, we provide so much for communities, and I don't want us to be left
Yeah.
out or unheard. Sorry, that was a long answer, but
No, it
that,
wasn't.
it's how I've grown.
You're so absolutely right. I was doing an interview to promote the new season of the Haves and Have Nots, and my publicist said, "Oh, well, they want to come to your house and they want to walk through the, they can come in, but they want we don't have company during
Right.
COVID." but,
Amen.
but but anyway, so walk walk the neighborhood while they're interviewing you. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. That sounds nice. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, why do you want to walk my neighborhood? Like,
Yeah,
there's nothing to that. If you want to talk to me outside, then we need to walk in the theater district. You need to see the void that's there. And you need to feel my heartbeat with that. You don't need to walk in my neighborhood.
that's right.
you
That's
know,
right.
we
That's
need to
right.
walk somewhere that matters, that'll bring attention to something that matters. Because if
That's right.
you lose these artists now, if they fold, if they gotta go and they fold, you lose so much. And you almost lose lives because artists who are not creating, you're dealing with depression. You're
That's
dealing
right.
with, you almost lose lives too. So,
Yep.
don't be putting us. Yeah, there was this article where someone wrote, even even performers are waiting for a handout.
Even we've never asked for a handout. We never have. We've always been the ones that will hustle and do 3 or 4 jobs just to make our dreams come true.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't ever want anyone to think that what we do is easy. And most people know that.
yeah.
But one thing that, I got a text message that said, I know you're not working. Yeah, we're still working. Even in this off season, we're
Yes,
working. We're
yes,
creating content. We're trying to be relevant,
yes.
and really thinking outside the box. And, you know, that's where I don't want people to mistake that we're just hanging out.
I know,
No, this
I
is
know.
Struggle Street is real. And I just want to make sure that all the artists that are listening today, we can do this. I'm not afraid of one thing I know we're not doing is we're never going back. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
We're going forward. And what we're going forward to are new visions and new ideas. And, Tyler Perry, thank God for him and what you guys did in Atlanta. You want to talk about being a pioneer and
Mhm.
showing Hollywood how it can be done.
Yeah,
I just thought that that was the best blueprint forward. And look at it came from you all. And that was magical. And I think we can do it. And I'm optimistic and I want our community to know we all got to lean into new ways of showing our arts. And
mhm.
right now it's needed more than ever.
Absolutely. So how'd you get started? How did Ron Kellum become Ron Kellum? How did it all start? Your mama said you were cute and you could dance. So
No, she said go clean out the garage and I put on the show. Um,
okay.
my story, God bless my parents. My parents, we were in Denver, Colorado. We're from Texas originally.
Mm,
And I just would watch, Donnie and Marie, Sanford and Son, the Jeffersons. And, every time people broke out and singing and dancing, I wanted to be that person. And my dad ran a gas station in Denver. It was Phillips 66, but he renamed it Kellum 66. So I'm sure he should have
all
been
right.
sued, but he didn't. Uh, but
Yeah.
I said, Daddy, I want to sing and dance. And he didn't know anything about that. My brother was an athlete. And so he called the news station, Channel 9 News, in Denver, Colorado. And this woman answered the phone. And I'm 12 years old at his desk. And he's trying to pretend to be making a call about getting me into show business. But I wasn't going to let him off the hook. He's like, well, my son wants to be in show business. She said, um, clearly she had nothing to offer. He pretended she did and go,
Mm,
okay, ma'am, I'll call you back tomorrow. Well, tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. And I went running back to daddy in his office. I said, we got to call that lady at Channel 9 News because she's going to tell me how to do this. And he picked up the phone and called her to get me out of the office. But God bless this lady. She said, well, you said something about dancing. Sir, I don't know anything about the industry, but right by my house on Colorado Boulevard is a dance studio called Hill Academy. And one Tuesday, Daddy was driving us home and I said, there it is. And we got out the car and we walked into this storefront dance studio, 12 little white girls in leotards and tutus. And this beautiful woman, Kathy Hill, walked over to me and she said, can I help you? And I said, yeah, can I dance? And my daddy looked at me and he said, you want to stay? I said, yeah. And he let me stay. And so from that moment on, Kathy Hill, my high school music teacher, Joyce Davis, God rest her soul, and Cleo Parker Robinson, these incredible people of the Denver, Colorado community just kept saying, come on in, come on in. And so, yeah, that's how it started.
And then how'd you get to New York, to Broadway, to how did all that happen?
That is a crazy, I'll tell you the very fast story. I was a high school gymnast and went to ASU for gymnastics and television broadcasting. They killed the gymnastics program, so they had co-ed cheerleading. So I got involved in co-ed cheerleading very young. But I was doing theater from the time I was 12. I think college was a way of giving me a backup plan. So I actually graduated as an anchor for NBC in Flagstaff, Arizona. Hated every minute of it. And I realized I was surrounded by these amazing people in the cheerleading industry. Paula Abdul, we taught camps at the same time, Terry Hatcher. And something said, I want to go do theater. So I came to LA, asked a friend if I could sleep on his sofa. What ended up to be, it was supposed to be 4 weeks, it was a year. And then Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was doing the revival. And I got a job, a swing. And I was green. I didn't really know about conservatory. Like I was green. And to
Yeah.
land a Broadway show, and I have to tell you, the reason why I'm sitting in this chair is because of people like you. It was the community. Like the second day of rehearsal, Ty Taylor was in the show with me, and Billy Porter and Ty were best friends. We went to Roscoe's for lunch. And to this very day, Billy and I are best friends. He adopted me, and he really was very clear. He's like, look, you need to be in dance class. You need to be in acting class. You need to have a singing. Like every single one of my peers would grab me and go, you better get ready. And so I realized that I was so late to the game. So by the time I got to New York, I literally had to prove my worth. And so it was really a fortitude of good friends pushing me, being surrounded by people like Yvette Cason, when I got a show out here. And I was just around these incredible giants. Adrian Lennox, when I did Dreamgirls with Milton Craig Neely, they would pull me aside and say, I see you. Now I need you to do this. And I learned more from my community than I think I would have ever learned in a school.
But they were supportive.
Oh, you want to talk about a village? I'm the luckiest man on the planet. My village is the reason why. None of these credits mean anything. It's the people around me that kept saying, you got this. I see you. Keep going, and having my back even when I didn't have the confidence, but holding me accountable. I'm really quite fortunate.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to lift people up and to encourage them and not be judge and jury and not be miscritical. It's so important to lift people up. They gonna figure out whether the note was sharp or flat. They'll figure it out. But you don't have to be.
And they'll tell you. But
But
what's
yeah,
amazing
so
about sorry, please.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is, but I always felt safe. There were three places I've always felt safe, and it was my home, my church, and the theater. And arriving into New York, it was my third safest place. I mean, I look back at those days racing to the stage door. I couldn't wait to get to the theater. I couldn't wait for rehearsal. And to be on that stage, I mean, there's nothing that gave me more life than being with that community, with our community.
Now, was it difficult to reconcile the theater with the church? Did that have some
Oh,
kind of fight to it, or was it very supportive
oh,
and
look, my church was, as far as my Mrs. Joyce Davis, everybody was a part of her family. So no matter who you were or what you represented, you were welcomed. And I'll never forget my first national tour when we went to Denver. She was on the third row. And Rufus Bonds, I was covering for him, and he knew this was my hometown. So he
Mhm.
took a week off so that I could premiere in Denver. Like that, that's family.
Yeah.
And there's my mentors and my teachers, and there's Miss Davis in her white suit, her Sunday suit, in the third row, standing up, after I do my number. That's my baby, so I just had these incredible cheerleaders along the way,
Yeah.
so.
You know, I have to say though that that says a lot about you too. I mean, you are a
Mm,
cheerleader to many. You you are supportive and loving and a lifter of spirit. So it would make sense that that would come to
thank
you
you.
as well. But how did you,
Thank
since
you.
you love theater and it was home, church, and the theater,
Yeah.
that's where you felt safe.
Mm.
When did you decide I don't want to do this anymore? Now I want to direct and I want
Oh,
to
great
produce.
question.
Yeah. How did that happen?
It was, yeah, I was going show to show. Like I was that gypsy. Excuse me. All right, the allergies are terrible here. The
Oh,
fires. So excuse me, everybody.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Praying for
but
y'all. Praying for y'all.
thank you.
Hmm.
So I was going show after show. I mean, I was, and I loved the audition process because I realized early on, uh, I knew I wasn't the best singer. I knew I wasn't the best actor. I knew my shortcomings and I knew my strengths. But what I loved was the audition process because it was about it's the only chance as an artist that you're in charge. When you walk in the room, it's the only moment that you get to show who you are as authentically as possible. And I enjoyed that part of it. And I always felt like if I didn't get the gig, I learned something that day. And I would walk away. I would always make notes. What could I have done better? How did I prepare the song? Where were my short steps?
Hmm.
So what I realized, my last show was Fosse, a big show, and it was one of the hardest shows because it was like running a marathon, 8 shows a week. And I mean the physical demand of that show. And I was on stage, I'll never forget, it was right around 9/11. We were in Japan. And I'll never forget, we were doing Dancing Man. And I realized I'm done. I don't want to physically work this hard. And I had this peace, but panic at the same time, like, uh-oh, what's next?
Hmm.
And the what next was directing and choreographing. And the minute I set my intention to it, the phone rang. And it was just really, I went, I want to do this. And it just started to happen. And again, I was green, even when I directed my first show, Once on This Island here in Fullerton, um, I realized that was I faking it? What I knew was my heart. And I knew that I wanted it to be great. And I knew that I wanted the people, my cast members, to shine. And I recognized early on in my career, when you create an environment that people feel safe,
Hmm.
then your job is to make sure you give them the platform to express themselves. And I think that's when I found my voice. I found me was creating a space to allow others to shine. And it's what I love most. I really do love that opportunity,
Hmm.
of being in that space. So yeah, it came fast. It was bigger than I expected to be on a NFL football field and you're directing a cast of 1,000.
Hmm.
But I was surrounded by good people, being on the set of Iron Man and working, you're just thrown in there. And I'm always one of those people, if you get the chance, you better show up. And
Yeah.
so even if my work wasn't always perfect, I always felt like I gave it my best. And and I was around people who were honest enough to tell me when it wasn't.
Told you with love. Told you with
Exactly.
love. Yeah, well, I think we get kind of caught up in perfect, don't we?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's that imposter syndrome, it's that, and I think, we have to go back to what feeds our soul.
Hmm.
And that feeling for me was when I was on that stage. So I wanted to make sure that everyone I got to work with got to have that expression, got to have that feeling, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us about the imposter syndrome.
oh wow, well, it's real, and I think that even most recently, when you look at your resume and your body of work, and you go, really, did that happen? How did that happen? You question it. You question if you're good enough. You question if who you say you are is true. Thankfully, I didn't struggle with that a lot because I recognized early on my weaknesses. And I think in acknowledging that and then being ready, and what I mean by that was a sense of, well, if I'm not strong in my ballet, I need to be in class every day. There's only one way to solve that problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
If I'm going to be a director, then I need to be around the giants. And so when I was in the theater, I would be sitting right next to George Wolfe or any of my directors. I was always the person that would stay in the room because
Mhm.
I wanted to learn. And
Mhm.
I learned a lot of great lessons. And I learned a lot of lessons that I won't use that if I ever have that opportunity to sit in that chair. Um, I think what's difficult, and I just speak to it quite honestly, is that as an African American
Mhm.
Black man in this country, I think it's a bit more challenging because we're questioned more if we have the skill set.
Mhm.
We have to prove it, and I think that's where the imposter syndrome shows up more for me, is in the rooms when I am the only one and
Mhm.
I don't have my community with me, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting in the space of a gatekeeper, and
Mhm.
you want to convince people, I know what I'm doing, I just need you to get out of my way or support it.
Yeah.
That's been a time in my life that has been challenging, and when it shows itself, because it's either ego or you just have to do your best work. So I
Right.
try to get out of that ego as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
I hope I'm making sense. Sorry.
Yes. I love get out of my way or support it. One or the other.
Exactly. Amen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The imposter syndrome, I always tell artists to accept your successes, that you are not a fraud.
That's
And
right.
it's so easy to think that you just been lucky this whole time. And then you get in a room with very talented, very gifted people, the room you've been praying to be in, the room that you worked hard to be in, and you get there and go, they're gonna notice that I'm a fraud. Like
Right.
I'm not that good. I'm just here because I got lucky.
Right.
And it's like, no, you're there because you deserve to be there and you
That's
are
right.
that good. And I
Right.
think a lot of nervousness and stage fright really comes from that. They're going to figure me out.
Right. That's
You
exactly right. That's
know?
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And
Mhm.
I think the minute you let go of ego and step into, I always say, be of service. That really is my mantra. Even during this season, how can I be of service? And the minute I get out of me and into giving or offering, it really seems to helped me get out of ego and not being afraid of being seen. I will say when I was with my community, whenever we're doing a Black show or a predominantly Black show, is
Mhm.
when I felt like it was a requirement that I needed to own that I have this spot. But I always felt if I didn't, there was somebody over my shoulder going, I'm gonna teach you that riff. I'm gonna teach you. Like, people always had my back. And that's, to me, the testament of how powerful our community is,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that is why this time we've got to make sure that our community is not left behind. We have to make sure that we're supported so that we can continue doing the good work that we're called to do.
Yeah. 100% agree. Do you miss performing?
Ooh, um, to be honest with you, I don't. But I
That's when you
miss,
know. That's when you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I, what I miss most is the days of being in a dance class. Just because you just sweat it out. It wasn't about a paycheck. It wasn't about ego. It was just about the work. That's what I missed most right now is just what it did for you physically, the endorphins. You knew that you were doing something to move yourself forward. That
Yeah.
discipline is what I miss.
Yeah. So Kimberly Jawan is here too.
Mm. Now you want to talk about somebody in my village. Like, that's why we know each other. It's
That's why
people
you
like
and I
her.
know each other.
Yep.
Kimberly.
She's one of those people that when I came to New York, I always had a room in her house, and there was always fresh food and just
She did it
again
up Southern style.
every time.
Uh,
And you felt like you were at home no matter every time I was with Kimberly, and still to this very day she is, you know
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get me emotional, Angela,
I know.
please.
We cry on Artist Talk. We cry. But
Oh my
I get
goodness.
emotional just being in your presence. So
Mm.
that's a listen. I think Scott's trying to get the baby to lay down because we've been busy today. Otherwise, I would bring him down here so you could
Oh,
see him. He's so big. Uh,
our story, our story will always be one of those miracle moments, and so glad we have that.
me too. Whew. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
in a minute. But I want to ask you how you're doing with the other pandemic, the racism pandemic.
Ah, come on now. That's boy, that has been tough for me because how do I say this? I have been navigating in life in a way that I didn't even realize that I've been carrying I think for all of us, we don't realize that when you leave home, those safe places that I've talked about, unconsciously, it felt like I've been wearing a 200-pound bulletproof vest my whole life, unknowingly. Learning how to assimilate, how to be the only one in the room, and how many times in my life I have experienced direct or systemic racism. And what really hit me is how frequent it has happened and how much I tucked it away. And that was really painful. I just want to share a quick story, if it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Because during this moment, I've recognized that I also don't want to demonize those people in my community that have been about lifting me up. So during the height of it and the protests here in LA, I was just thinking about the white people in my life that have been lock in step with me. And I want to make sure I acknowledge that during this season. So I called the stage manager that helped me, who stood by my side during one of my directorial debuts. And I just wanted to say thank you. And in that conversation, she reminded me of a situation and she wanted to talk to me about it. And she said, I have felt really bad and I wanted to call you and talk about an experience that you and I shared. Now, I couldn't remember the experience. And we worked about on 6 different shows together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about a particular show. And we were in the rehearsal room. At that time, I was the choreographer. And actually, excuse me, we were auditioning. And this is probably 17 years ago. And we're auditioning and the equity monitor comes in and stops the audition. And she goes, we're having a situation outside. And we're like, okay. So we get up, the director and I, we walk out into the lobby and it's mostly black folks. And she goes, no, it's outside on the street. So we walk outside. This is Fullerton.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a police car. And at this point, I had forgotten this story and she is retelling me this until this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they have my friend up against the wall, asking him, why is he in Fullerton? And what's he doing? It was Leslie Odom rehearsing his
What?
sides on the sidewalk. I had forgotten this story. I had put that down and she said, Ron, do you remember what you said to me? I go, no, I don't remember. She said, you call Fullerton and let them know we're going to be here for 6 weeks. And you turned around and walked right back in. And when she told me that, it really was one of those moments in my life that you recognize how much we suppress and we ignore and we continue to navigate and steward through life, unknowing of these bullets that hit us and we put it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then we keep trying and striving to do our very best. So how am I doing in it? I'm more awake than I've ever been. I'm being more outspoken than I've ever thought I would have to be.
Mm-hmm.
My activism is coming more from really engagement with my political leaders, calling them out and being much more forthright in my expression of how I was made to feel. Because I recognize if someone understands how they made me feel, then we can have a dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think that's important. So I've been able to reach back and have these very delicate conversations with directors, with producers, with my bosses at certain times, and not calling it out, going, I want to talk to you about my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they hear you, then we have a dialogue. And then everyone has accountability and we move forward and we can be better. but we have a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
and it's a painful time, but the we're all awake,
Yeah.
and no more hiding.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No,
so
not at all. As a black man,
yeah.
even I know your neighborhood. Are you afraid at all? Do you get when you see the police? Do you get a little something happen in your stomach?
First time ever in my life. I'm a global citizen. I can get on a plane and go anywhere as far, and I say that humbly.
Hmm.
Traveling is easy for me.
Hmm.
Is the first time when we had to put on that mask and I had to go up to the corner store and I know that lady and what I love is our little neighborhood in Studio City. It's an amazing village.
Yes, it is.
But all of a sudden I realized that they can't see Ron Kellum. So if I happen to get up early and put that baseball cap on backwards, sunglasses, and a mask, and I see a reaction,
Hmm.
and then I can't fix that other than in my vocal quality to calm that person's fears.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't been home in a long time for this much time. And
Hmm.
I for a while, I got a little uncomfortable because, especially when we were hearing about these hangings in California, I would ride my bike in the evening and all of a sudden I'm going, what? So it has become a real thing. I wanted to go see my mom because I hadn't seen her. And during this very delicate time in our lives, I go home every 6 weeks. And the only way I could get to her safely was to drive. And thankfully, Josh drove with me. But it was a 15 and a half hour drive. And I'm sad to say I was pulled over. And I knew it when it happened. I
Hmm.
was not speeding. Um, Now here we are in a mask, glasses, and the officer was lovely, but first time in my life, I was pulled over for illegal lane change in wide open Arizona, and I was asked to get out of my car. And that's when this was June 17th,
Yeah.
and the questions I was asked was heartbreaking because I knew it in my soul what it was.
Yeah.
I was asked what kind of work do I do while standing on the side of the road. I was
God.
asked why did I choose this journey from LA to Colorado. I was asked who is the passenger in the car and who is he to me for an illegal lane change. And it's hard to talk about it, but it's real. And when it happens and you're sitting there going, this is not happening.
Yeah.
And then I recognize that the only thing I can use, now I'm a 5'8", you know, black man. I'm not that intimidating. Some days I wish I was 6'2", 280. But in that moment, I really had to reduce all of me to calm the officer and to understand why is he asking what kind of work do I do? So it happened. And all I was given was a warning for an illegal lane change on wide open. These are our stories.
Yeah.
And, we have to talk about them. And I want to make sure that when we're done in this season, that we never go back to behavior that people are allowed to get away with, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You're a mentor, your uncle. Um, what do you say to your mentees? What do you say to your nephews? How do you explain, because the young people, listen, they're not having it.
right. Thank God.
And I love them. I love every minute of it because yes, none of
Yeah.
us are having it, but I just love that they're starting at that place. And I remember
Mm,
that place too, in
right.
college. So, but what do you say to them?
Oh, I'm telling them that, my friend Destin uses an expression, eyes wide open. And it is that moment that I'm telling them that I want them to be fearless. I want them to have a sense of purpose. And I want them to be mindful of every decision that they make will have consequences. And sometimes it can happen like that. So I encourage them to lean in to being awake and to understanding that right now their voices will matter. You know, we're of that generation or that time period, right after civil rights movement, right after Vietnam. So we didn't have a lot to fight for other than our own personal independence.
Mm-hmm.
Now these young folks, they have something to fight for,
Mm-hmm.
and we need them out there. But I need them to be careful. I need
Mm-hmm.
them to be mindful. But I also need them to understand that we cannot show behavior that is a contradiction to what we're fighting for. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense? You
Yeah, it
know,
does.
so when I see a house party on a Sunday during a pandemic, I'm frustrated
Yeah.
because I know that people have been out there protesting and fighting and protesting in a way that it's a global protest. It's not
Yes.
just in our city. The whole world is awake.
Right.
I know we're all going crazy and we want to let our hair down. So we want to be with our family and friends, but we have to be careful right now. We
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that how we show up in the world is reflective of the rights that we want in this world. And no matter if someone else doesn't do it, we doesn't give us a pass not to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I tell them. So, and that I'm their 911, no matter what, you know.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
So
are. My baby Charles and Carrie. I love them. Yeah, because I used to say to my mom and my nieces and nephews say to me, I don't have to be perfect to be treated justly. And you are absolutely right. You don't. No one should be perfect. The people walk around with AK-47s and shoot people, and they still get to live. So no, you don't have to be perfect. But how about just being the best human being that you can be for you?
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. We're all flawed. You know, we all
Yes.
have shortcomings. We
Yes.
all are going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Especially now, I really, I'm recognizing that we all need to offer more grace during this season because we're in a new reality that we never thought we would be in.
Absolutely.
So there are days that everybody gets a day of crazy. But I also want to make sure that while we're in this season, let's
Yeah.
have these deep dive conversations, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I've been on a lot of panels. I've been talking with the NFL. I've been talking with Cirque. I've been talking to the producers, and the best way to help them understand is to really highlight how I was treated, how I in that bubble,
Yeah.
and that helps get the conversation going, you
Yeah.
know.
It does. It really does. Do you still dance at home in your
Oh yeah,
closet?
I do. When I
You
feel
get
that
down?
good beat, yeah, you know, I'm like, oh, that's there it is, you know.
I love it. Now,
Yeah.
Ron, who inspires you? I mean, you're an inspiration to so
Mm.
many, but who inspires you? Who inspires? What inspires? What soft
Wow.
spot are you falling on besides Josh?
You know, I don't want to sound, I really want to be honest. My friends inspire me. I mean, really, I mean, you are one of those people, in the sense of how you show up in the world, how you treat people, how your work, is a complete opposite of who you are as a human being. My friends, you know, Billy Porter, what he's doing, and to be close to someone and to watch this rise. It's like a master class. My friend Ty Taylor, who's creating concerts in the tunnel, you know, it's my friends, you know, and my family. You know, I call my dad, who still gives me advice, you know, in this season, and I lean into him. Really, truly, it's my friends, and my faith, you know, is so critical. You know, so yeah, you know, they're the greats. You know, when I got Chicago, I remember during the audition, there were 4/8 counts where you had to improv. And I remember this section because I would rent the VHS tape of Pippin with Ben Vereen from at age 15 through to 18, and I learned every step of the Manson Trio and Bob Fosse's material. So people like Ben Vereen, like, so when I got Chicago, and I will never forget Anne Rankin looking at me during the audition, because I was giving you the Manson Trio. Like I had step for step. But I realized it was just at home watching my heroes on my VHS tapes and learning. So truly, it's my community of friends that have really held me up and, you know, made me, helped me be the man that I am.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. I'm gonna ask you a few questions that I ask
Okay.
everybody. See
Okay.
what Ron Kellum's take on it is, and a few that are, I won't get to all of them because our time is short. But what keeps
Okay.
you up at night?
Mm, great question. Right now is what is the new going to look like? What's keeping me up right now is how do we get going again?
Mhm.
I want to be a part of that conversation, and I have been. How can we create a place for arts to happen? If it's a drive-in concert, that's what's keeping my mind going.
Mhm.
Is like, okay, how do we do this? How do we come up with new content?
Mhm.
Because I think that we have to be smarter, and we cannot be reliant on the old disciplines. We've got to figure out new ways. And so that's really how my mind is just going, okay, what do we do now? So, because we cannot fade, you know?
No, no, we
Yeah.
sure can't. How is your mom, by the way?
Mhm. She's well, I'm so blessed. And for many people who don't know my mom, we've been on this dementia journey for 8 years. I'm grateful for every day that we have her. The blessing is that even in this season, we FaceTime every day, and she's Ron, and so just to hear her say my name and recognize me, it just brings me such soul food. The funniest part, this is the first time I've ever had facial hair. And I'm telling you, our favorite game is she's like, now what is this? And I said, oh, mom, it's just some wisdom. She goes, I don't like it.
I
And
don't
she'll
like
ask me again.
it.
But, just the blessing that she recognized me. And how's your mom doing?
My mom is great. She has her days. We're on the dementia journey as well, and she does the same thing to me with regard to the natural hair. She said, "Now what is that, Lord? Listen, get this straightening comb." And
Exactly. Isn't it amazing?
yes, yes, but she's great. I mean, because she's with me, we've been, very serious about staying home, um, staying quarantined pretty much. We don't, yeah, we've been quarantined since March, and um, we have family outings, just us.
Yeah,
But it's important to keep her safe,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
that is our main priority. So, it's been great to see her not be phased, not know nothing that's going on. Why y'all got them things on your face? You know?
There are days that I go, dementia, there might be a blessing in there. Because let me just tell you, every day I see her, she's happy. And she's so present. When I saw her the last time, we went for a walk, and it was like the wonderment of a flower, and we talked about it. And then the plane would go by, and we talked about it. So what I recognize and what I've received of this tough season is that I've gotten to have my mother in multiple forms. She was a
Hmm.
strong, fierce Black woman,
Hmm.
with so much class. And now she's this beautiful, sweet soul that's tender and loving. And I'm just so grateful that I'm recognizing the stages and just walking along the journey with her. The biggest challenge is I just wish I could be there daily.
I
So,
know, I know.
you
Yeah,
know,
we feel the exact same way. So it's a blessing. It is a huge blessing to have my mom. And I tell you what, the first when we first got shut down,
mm,
her main caregiver, I think her daughter came, and I was like, oh, from out of town. I was like, oh, no, no, you're gonna have to go and quarantine and then come back when you know that everything is safe. And she did. She
right.
was wonderful about doing that. But it was just me, and Lord knows we just caregivers are angels. And but it did give Mom and I such beautiful moments, and I will never forget them. And I'm so blessed to have her here. And just like you and I have shared many tears talking
Many.
about talking about our mamas.
And you were right. The caregiving role is, you know, it's not for the faint at heart. I mean, it takes my sister and her family have done a remarkable job, and you know, I owe them so much, you know, to take that on.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, one thing I do know is that Mama knows she is loved and safe, and I think that's the most important thing.
Amen. So my last question to you is, well, maybe what time is it? I may have time for two. Um, when did you go from being a performer, da 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 da
Right.
da da, to being an artist?
Ooh, that is an amazing question. This is going to sound bizarre to say. I knew I was a real artist when I had the opportunity to direct the all black production of Jesus Christ Superstar. Because I recognized that I trusted every instinct.
Hmm.
And that's, I believe, is when artistry really shows up. It's in our instincts.
Ooh.
I knew every single
Ooh,
moment
that's good.
what,
That's good.
well, it was that moment where I went, I have all the tools. I've been working on this my whole life since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
But it was just listening and making sure that the story was told as authentically in our voicing and every detail of it. I knew yes or no. And that's when I knew, like, I knew that I was awake to my gifting. And that's, I think that's really what it was. It was an awareness of your knowledge that you know what you're doing. Um, and at that point, there's no ego. There was nothing but let's see this through. And I didn't care about what people would say.
Mhm.
What I cared about is how we made people feel.
Mm.
That's when I knew. Yeah.
Woo. That's good. I always tell actors what separates you from being a performer to an artist are your choices. And you just said your instincts. It's that's it. What are you gonna make some bold, wonderful gut from the gut choices? Or are you gonna, hey,
That's
do
right.
what do what you know, hit that note you know gonna get the applause, or are you gonna
That's
make a
right.
different choice for the sake of truth?
There it is. And when truth shows up, well, and that's what we're called to do.
Mhm.
You know, that's really why we must get back to work because it's in this time is when we're needed most.
Yeah.
Because we will raise the consciousness of our communities. We will lift people up. We will inspire people again.
Yeah.
And that's when you know the arts are critical and tangible. And all of our artisans that are sidelined, you know, we got to get them back because they will help us repair the damage of where we've gotten to.
Amen. Amen. Brother, how can we be praying for you? What's your
Oh,
dream next? Like, what would you, I don't like to ask actors, what
mm,
you got coming up? As
right.
just because, you know, we all go like, let me see. But, you know, that's a, you know, we are not gypsies, but we don't know sometimes what we
Right,
have coming up, but we
right.
remain open and ready to receive. But what would be your dream next? What could
Mm,
we keep close in our hearts for you?
wow. Um, you know, I feel that there is a calling on my life. And the calling is to make a space for people to do their work and make that place safe and healthy. And I think for me, the prayer is to keep opening doors where I can be in the room, but no longer the only one in the room. And that's what I want. I want to work around my community and other communities. I don't want to be in a space that is just our story, but we can tell any story. And I want to be the storyteller that's about making sure that there is a space for everybody. And I'm not just saying that for words, it's really my heart. And, you know, I've been talking a lot about this in therapy, just the idea that I know what it does for me and how it impacts others. And I don't ever want that to be lost. So I just want to continue to be a way maker and a
A
part of a
miracle
community.
worker, a promise keeper, a light in the darkness.
So yeah, so long as I don't get in my own way, your prayers are needed, because I really am wanting to build our communities back up, and in any way I'm called to do so.
So, family, you have gotten to spend 50 minutes with this angel of a man. And I introduced him. I told you he was special. Was I right? Come on, shout out down there. I knew I was right. But before we go publicly, I just want to say, ooh, Latanya, send me the tissue.
Don't do it.
I just want to say thank you. So,
Uh-oh, I lost you. Sorry.
okay, you got me back.
Yeah, I got you back. See, she makes me cry. But you know, these
We
are
do this.
tears of joy, and this is family, you know,
Yes.
because we know what's real.
So we, this man did not really know me. We knew the same people, but he really didn't know me. And I wanted to move to LA for a while, trying to be an actor. And I wanted to move to LA for a while. And a good friend of ours, a mutual friend, said, ask Ron. And I said, I don't know if Ron knows me like that. I don't, And I'm telling you, this man opened up his home to me. Gave me a room. He was always gone because, I told you he liked to go. Gave me a room and full access to the entire home. And I had the best time. I felt so much like family. And during that time, I had some heartbreaking things happen in my life. And, you guys know that my son is adopted. And somewhere around then, it looked like it was going to fall through. It did fall through. And I was heartbroken. And he held me together. He and my friend Latanya and his beautiful Josh, they held me together. Because sometimes when things hurt so bad, you can't do nothing. You need your friends to just hold you up and hold you together. And that's what they did. And I will never forget it. And my son will always know his uncles, his Auntie Tanya and his uncles, because they kept hope alive for him. I said, I'm done. I can't. But they kept hope alive for him. This man, I was hurting so bad, he threw me a party. Invited all my great, great friends over. And I just will never forget. I'll never forget how you kept me together during that time. And when I look at life now, and I look at my son with my mother, it's something. It's something. God knows. He knows.
And
But
it's one of those moments that you're right. I was gone most of the time, but I'm so grateful that I was home, because you recognize, you're in our home, you're now family, and to see you hurting and that we couldn't fix it, but I was so great that we could cover you and that you allowed us a space to do that for you and your amazing husband to trust us. And it truly was a moment to witness a real miracle under our our house, you know. So I saw a miracle and I met you, and deeper you, I was always a fan. Um, but to become family. And I think that's when we get closer in our crisis.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to really allow a space of grace because we just don't know, you
Yeah.
know.